What's up guys, there is a wicked bad storm going on right now and chances are we're gonna lose power any second, so I'm just gonna jump right in and start working on the power steering setup on the car because if I don't, probably not gonna be able to do it in the dark. Okay, I actually got a really nice power steering setup from Chase Bays and they make a bracket for an S13 where you can actually mount the power steering reservoir right here, and I have all the lines already made by them for that length. However, the bracket that works with an S13 that would allow us to mount it here isn't going to work. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna build a bracket and I'm gonna make it way nicer than those other crappy brackets I built before. I could almost get away with just hard mounting it to the chassis here. However, for serviceability reasons, it would be kind of a pain because I'd have to disassemble the whole headlight assembly just to get to those nuts at the other side. So what I'm gonna do instead, I've made a little piece of cardboard kind of as a template, and I'm gonna cut a piece of aluminum and build a bracket that can basically mount here so I can just unbolt it from here when I need to remove it. This scrap piece of aluminum should work perfectly for what we want. Alberto came and stopped me before I spent too much time making my little bracket. It would have been nice, however, he reminded me that there was another AC line here, which would have gotten in the way. So instead, we're gonna need to build some sort of bracket to mount it a little bit closer to this side. That'll just basically have 3 holes so it can just bolt right to the chassis of the car. It was kind of tricky, but what I wound up doing that I'm very happy with is I actually took that black bracket that came with it and I cut it up a little bit and I was able to utilize it, put 2 holes in the bottom and use the 1 hole on top. So it's got 3 holes and then I have it bolted right over here. So it's clearing pretty much everything and looks really nice and it's very sturdy. So I'm very stoked. I actually talked to these guys a lot about their power steering reservoir, and this new version is so overly engineered, it's ridiculous. It's gonna be hard for me to kind of show you guys inside, and probably without cutting it in half, you won't really be able to get the full picture, but the way that they designed it inside with the baffles and how all the fluid is routed in there, they say they've tested the absolute crap out of it, no foaming, no spillover, with like crazy abuse, so I'm very excited to try it. It's a very, very complex design. And if you guys want to read more about it, I will put the link down in the description. They also helped us make a custom clutch line that deleted the fitting that's normally up here. So it's just right away a 45-degree bend. So we're avoiding the intake manifold. So that's super rad. We weren't able to get a 90-degree coupler like we originally wanted for here, but it gave Alberto a perfect excuse to go ham on some pie cuts and get like literally the perfect intercooler pipe right here. Also, cool little note, this rubber seal here that looks nice in OEM, it's just a vacuum line sliced in half. You're clever, sir.
It looks really good, right?
No, it does. And it's really nice, so you don't have to worry about the intercooler piping vibrating up and getting holes and stuff like on my S13. One of the coolest things of the line setup going on is how rad the oil drain is. It actually tees into the same oil drain as the turbo, and it just looks really nice with all these fittings and everything. But very, very clean setup. If you notice too, Alberto spent a lot of time yesterday wrapping the manifold to get that so we can work in here without burning ourselves like crazy. I was about to show you guys the line setup, but we might have run into a hiccup. Before we address the hiccup, kind of a cool thing that I came up with just to see if the stud was spinning, because that's what Alberto was concerned about. I took a Sharpie and just marked the top of the stud. That way, as he tightens, since you can't see when there's a socket over it, he could pull the socket off and we could see if it spun. But what's even worse is we don't think it's spinning. We think that it's actually just pulling straight out of the block.
That's what it looks like it's happening. You can see the stud. Look how many threads you got from this being fully tightened, and then this is just keeps going, and now we have more studs. So what it seems to be happening is that it's pulling the whole stud out of the head.
I guess the only thing we could hope for is that maybe that stud wasn't like threaded all the way into the block, and it just looks like that's happening, but it's not actually happening, if that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Let's just see what happens. Look, one finger. It just feels like it's getting more loose the more I go.
So what do we even do in that scenario?
We'll have to like remove the whole manifold, and then we have to do a Healy coil insert.
Ugh.
Look.
That sucks. And the funny thing is too, we had all new studs put in to avoid this problem. Yeah, that sucks. No, that sucks. So where do we get the helicoil thing?
O'Reilly's?
Oh, they have it?
Yeah.
Oh, tight. So Alberto already got it all ready, so that way tomorrow, once we can get the insert, it'll go right in. Also, now that the manifold's off, you guys can see a little bit better what we ended up doing for the water line. It's actually a banjo fitting that has a 90 right there to keep it nice and close to the block and away from the manifold. And we also got the heat shielding on the lines.
The banjo straight, then it has a 90 on the line.
Well, that's kind of what I meant. A banjo with a 90 would kind of be redundant because you could just rotate a banjo, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, anyway, and then you can see where the oil line goes right in, right there. And
this is really cool here. The engine has this little like natural slit right here. So I put the hose right on it, like put your finger behind it.
Oh, it just kind of like rests in there, like a cradle. That's
So I
nice.
was able to like tuck it in even more. It's like a perfect length.
Technically speaking, I'm continuing this video into the next day, mainly because, well, today is going to be insanely busy, and we're hoping to get the car started today. So I just figured I would kind of wrap up yesterday's video today, showing you a couple things real quick before I start a new one. Right now, Alberto got the helicoil in while I was running an errand. Does it work? Is it good?
Yeah, that works.
And while he's in there, since we are running AC in the car, he's going ahead and replacing all the O-rings while they're easy to access. You can just buy a little pack like this at the auto parts store. When it gets old, they can kind of deteriorate and then they don't hold the refrigerant in, and your AC doesn't work. Had the same problem with my 350Z.
Oh, and that's important. Look, it's fixed.
That's what I said.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's literally what we were just talking about,
I was
bud.
paying so much attention to the O-rings, I didn't hear you say that.
So I have a friend, Brad, down in Jupiter, which is about, I'd say, maybe like 3 hours away. He actually met me in the middle this morning because I found out that the drive shaft for the car that I got through Raw Brokerage, I knew that it only took them like 3 days to make, but I forgot about shipping time. So I figured out that I wasn't going to have the drive shaft in time for tuning, which is gonna be on Saturday, by the way. So he lended me his drive shaft. He actually has an R32 with an SR and a Z32 trans. So I picked that up from him along with some other fancy things that I'll show you guys in a later video. I think I'm just gonna wrap things up here, guys, and I want to apologize. I know these last two videos might be a little bit dry because we have been just doing so much, but the truth is we're working really hard to get this thing finished, and I hope you're as excited as I am to hear it run. Later, guys.